This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen. And everything that we're talking about here today, I want to shout out to Steve Gulbranson and Joni Gulbranson. They have got the number zero calories .crypto. Man, do I wish that was true. And they also have zero spelled out, ZERO calories .crypto. I think those are two fantastic names for the diet and food industry going forward. So shout out to everybody who sends their .cryptos to me. Again, I try to do what I can to help you guys out, to bring some attention to them. I think some of these names are outstanding. When you look to industries and not trademark names, I think this really is a new asset class, to be honest, just like the .coms. So make sure you check out the link in the description if you guys are interested in picking up an unstoppable domain and all the other links that are there. Let's get right into this thing today, because right now the market is pulling back and we see Bitcoin at $13,035.99. Ethereum now back under 400 at 382.94, and XRP currently falling like a manhole cover from the sky at 24 cents. 0.2417 market cap is 10.9 billion plus, and the 24 hour is down about 2.6% at 1.3 billion plus, almost 1.4 billion in 24-hour volume, and the total circulating supply now sitting at 45 billion 266 million, just came up 18 million a couple days ago. So there are your numbers. Let's go ahead and get into this news. Okay, here's where we're going today. So we're going to talk about this FTX. This is from James Rule XRP, a major cryptocurrency derivative exchange, announced on the 29th that it will start to service fractional stock offering, which tokenizes the stocks of major companies such as Apple and Amazon. Now, we know that we got Robinhood out in this market. We know we've seen Sologenic. Also, shout out to Bob Rast and Rezi and the rest of the crew there at Sologenic. And now we see FTX getting in the game. To me, this is very exciting because this is the convergence of the digital asset space with the traditional markets in its truest form, and it's just in its face, right? We're seeing the best attributes of the digital market be incorporated and converged into the traditional framework of how you buy stocks. And now it's not unavailable to you. If you want to buy Apple or Amazon stocks for a small amount of money, you can do so on the regular. And I think everything begins to decentralize in this way. And I think decentralize is the right word, right? Where, you know, at some point, everyone will be able to participate in pretty much everything. And that, to me, is exciting, the more inclusive it can be. So let's keep going here because it escalates quickly this morning. So let's go. China's central bank is focusing on using its digital currency, shout out to Michael Val 5 links, for retail payments domestically and preventing the U.S. dollar from becoming a more common medium of exchange in the country. I think it's quite clear China has laid down the gauntlet. They do not like the U.S. dollar. And they would love to be the global reserve status of the planet. I think the world's smarter than that. Swiss National Bank and BIS announced digital currency trial by 2020's end. I would think that, knowing that China is still on the full court press here, that this is absolutely the rest of the central banks of the world beginning to respond. Don't forget about this all has to tie back into the BIS Innovation Hub, which the Federal Reserve of New York is in, as well as many, many, many other central banks from around the world. So Swiss National Bank and BIS will begin trial testing in just a few short weeks, I would say, because there isn't much left of 2020. So this is exciting. The full court press is on, and the rest of the world is responding. So I'm very excited about that. Now, here we have a piece of news that I find quite interesting because just yesterday I did a video on debt cancellation. and what it would mean for the world and this level playing field and this new financial system, right? This new hashtag Internet of Value, if you will. So, if we're moving into this, the question I had yesterday, and all of you were amazing in your responses, by the way. And I just have to say, how do you get there unless you include discussing some sort of debt relief? And that's exactly what they did, and that's what they're going to do, and they're talking about it now. This is going to play a big role in the debt relief discussion. And I want to remind everybody, this is I think a big inflection point for us to really understand where the world is collectively by paying attention to this next round of get-togethers from November 13th and then the 21st and 22nd of November as well. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about 23 days from now, the world's leaders getting together and discussing heavily not only debt relief, but remember, keep this in mind, this goes parallel with the G20 digital economy ministers meetings that have been taking place all throughout the year as well. So digitization also poses challenges, including how to bridge digital divides and develop effective policies and strategies that are innovative as well as agile, flexible, and adapted to the digital era. That's where we are. The digital era. It's here. This is what the world leaders are talking about. This is the bullet points of the next meeting. Debt relief, right? And the digital economy task force that exists for the G20 and how to bring it all into play. I mean, this to me are the two huge narratives of the year for the G20, rightfully so. So this to me is something to watch very, very closely as we move forward. Here's something else we need to watch very closely too. SBI Holdings CEO Yoshitaka Kitao says Ripple is looking into Japan as a new market for its global headquarters, reminding everyone that they have an office in Japan and Singapore and all the other places, the UK, and they have an office in DC in the United States and San Francisco, and they are considering moving the Ripple headquarters. Here's what I would say for myself. This is how I'm seeing this, because I know that this creates a lot of concern amongst people. And look, an investment is an investment. We want to be careful and understand as much as we can. Here's my take on it. And obviously, everyone has their own take on these things. One, if Ripple wants to move to another country because they think it will help them, go right ahead. I'm all for it. I have no problem with it. First of all, I think it would be in the U.S.'s best interest to work that out with Ripple and have them stay. Now, whether that happens or not is another matter. But what I would say is that XRP itself is a global decentralized asset, digital asset, which I find to be money. Recently here in the States, we've even seen the Federal Reserve and FinCEN, which has already decided in 2015 that XRP was actually money, push to a proposal to include their agency's definition of money to explicitly include virtual currencies. That, to me, is a huge signal that they want to get this problem resolved, because once XRP and all virtual currencies are really in the definition of the Federal Reserve and FinCEN as money, I think you could take some of these other agencies out of the equation at that point, like maybe the SEC, right? And Jay Clayton. If you make this money, the SEC doesn't handle money. The SEC handles securities. So at that particular rate, I think you could take a handful of agencies and say, okay, we can go ahead and get this resolved without the other entities in it, because it doesn't include their participating in coming up with a solution, right? Or regulatory clarity, if you will. And I think this will be a huge step towards regulatory clarity. Now, we still have the DCEA, right? The Digital Commodities Exchange Act, which has gone through the House of Representatives, but has not gone through the Senate. It's in the Agriculture Committee, if I remember correctly, and it needs a full floor vote of the Senate in order to pass there and go on to be legislation signed by the current administration or current president. So, with that being said, let's go back to Ripple, the company. Ripple, the company, may just find it in their best interest, because their headquarters is currently in San Francisco, that maybe that the taxes are out of control in California. Maybe it's just that if they were to move to another more friendly place, tax-wise, it makes more sense for them. You know, the other question by default is that if we're considering moving to a new location, does this put the IPO on ice? Does it put it on hold for a bit, right? Does this complicate matters? Or do they intend to IPO from this new location if they do plan to move, right? I can't help but feel like if this is a decentralized global asset, and we have clarity in the places that they have mentioned, like Japan and UK and Malta and Liechtenstein and all of these other areas of the world, well, let's just go ahead and start using XRP full scale for its intended use in those areas. Because just like China has created their CBDC and push forward every day with using it, testing it, making sure it's there, and getting getting the regular citizens and consumers comfortable with this technology and using this digital dollars, I think that's the same business pressure that's being put back on the U.S. government to get in the race and be a leader in this fourth industrial revolution. Because look, at the end of the day, if you start to use XRP in the other side of the world, wherever you feel like you've got the most clarity, I would think that the other side of the world, back at the U.S., people would be like, hey, what's going on here? Especially banks and payment providers and small, medium enterprises would start saying, hey, these people, these businesses and these banks in these other countries have this huge incentive because they're using this new digital asset, and we're not able to use it here. Whoa, that don't work for us. Just like we see the pressure of the CBDC in China, putting pressure on the rest of the central banks to get their stuff together much quicker than they ever anticipated. I think this incentive, this pressure, actually turns out to be a huge positive should we have it. My big point is that up until now, all these places that supposedly have this clarity and regulatory clarity and in these respective regions of the world have not begun to use XRP to full intended use at full scale. And to me, that is what's lacking. So even if these places have the clarity, why aren't they using it yet? So for me, there's still some things that need to happen one way or another, but I think we're in a very exciting time, and it's fun to watch this. It's fun that we all get to be on this journey together and share the comments, and I do read the comments, and you guys are some of the smartest people I've ever come across, no doubt about it. But I would say that this is an extremely exciting time, and I hope that the U.S. will definitely show up at some point here and give Ripple and the rest of the digital asset space, by the way, what they need to move forward and begin using it, because I really do believe we are at an inflection point with the digital asset space, regardless of whether Ripple moves out of the US or not. And that inflection point is use case utility. If your asset doesn't have practical application, it's not going to survive the market. All right, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, share with somebody you know, and don't forget, check out the links in the description box in the comment section for anything you may want or need. I'll catch all of you on the next one.